Four stories, same debate. Is a baby, a developing human life in a mother's womb, worth protecting, or do we have the right to kill it? One day after the New York Times claimed there's no difference between abortion and a miscarriage, Elizabeth Hasselbeck returned to the Liberal View to celebrate its 25th season last week. And Whoopi Goldberg basically claimed God made us smart enough to know it's okay to kill unborn babies. And that same day, Joe Biden signed an executive order that could force taxpayers to pay the costs of pregnant women who travel to another state to have an abortion. It was also reported that pregnancy resource centers are now having to spend tens of thousands of dollars for security in the wake of violent attacks, I should say, by pro-abortion Democrats. I'm David Fiorazzo, and this is Christ and Culture. So Elizabeth Hasselbeck, a glutton for punishment, confronted the cast of The View again last week and challenged them with the other side of the story. What do I mean? Alternatives to murdering babies through abortion. Most pro-choice minions don't support choice at all, in the true definition of the word. They argue and fight for one option: eliminating preborn lives. Now, Hasselbeck's strength and compassion are desperately needed on such a one-sided show that typically downplays, criticizes, or condemns the biblical worldview, especially on life and truth. Now, she stood up and contrast that with Whoopi Goldberg, who declared that since, quote, God doesn't make mistakes, she said, he gives people free will, which is true, but she said it makes us smart enough to know that it's okay with him to have abortions. Really? Chapter and verse, please. No, abortion is not okay. It is not biblical. It is not reproduction, and it certainly is not health care. What about the baby's choice or rights or health? So Hasselbeck rightly drew attention to the various options and thousands of agencies available to help support women in crisis and to support them after the baby is born. So watch this.
But I do think there are options out there. There are thousands of agencies that wrap around women that might not be able to care for the baby once born, or may not want the baby when they're pregnant, or maybe it was unexpected and they're in a hard situation, but that will come around at no cost and wrap around you. And I might not change your minds, but I hope women out there know to look for the nonprofits, look for the agencies that help you create a birth plan and match you with an adoptive family who may have suffered miscarriage after miscarriage, who want to care for the baby. So that option's real and it's out there. And I don't believe in giving women half the information out there, and I think those lives have a precious value on them.
So excellent points, by the way. Thank you, because women are only getting half the information, probably not even half, but good for her. So the debate, of course, will continue. In fact, the two leftist law professors claim in a New York Times op-ed that the lines are blurry between women who choose to abort their children and women who have suffered miscarriage. You read that right, or you heard that right. No mention of one being spontaneous against what a mother wants and desires, and the other, abortion, being a calculated decision that was pre-planned. In an article, Why Do We Talk About Miscarriage Differently from Abortion? They refer to miscarriage as pregnancy loss, not loss of human life, right? It's just a pregnancy. They go so far as to blame the apparent confusion on the pro-life people, those who are anti-abortion, who oppose murder and support life in the womb. They say decades ago, the anti-abortion movement realized it could weaponize grief after pregnancy loss to suggest the callousness of abortion and to promote the concept of fetal personhood. So truth that it's a human being growing in a mother's womb, that's only a concept now? Wrongly believing that our rights come from government instead of God, they suggest the pro-life movement worked aggressively to, quote, give fetuses rights, and as a result, undermine abortion rights. Also, in lockstep with a culture that has devalued life, the Biden administration supports those who want to eliminate lives in mothers' wombs to the point of charging taxpayers to cover abortion costs for those wanting to cross state lines to commit an abortion. White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre stated that the decree, quote, paves the way for Medicaid to pay for abortions for women having to travel out of state. Did you catch that? They have no choice. They're forced to travel. They're forced to get an abortion one state over. So we must not forget, Americans are already paying government over $500 million, which helps fund Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest and richest abortion business. Finally, as a result of the demonic leftist agendas, many workers and volunteers, sadly, at pregnancy resource centers are having to divert valuable resources away from helping vulnerable women in need and now add security measures for their buildings. These new costs are in addition to the funds that have already been paid, spent on repairing the damage done by pro-abortion terrorists and activists. In just the last few months, the number of violent attacks on pregnancy resource centers, churches, and family organizations is rounding 90 and heading to 100. Where's the Justice Department? Where's Biden? You know where they stand, right? Most of the funding that keeps pregnancy centers running comes from donors and local communities. So they just need to keep on raising money, and it's going to help protect them from the violence. So when the party of tolerance and the preachers of justice call out the hypocrisy in their own ranks, as well as the violent activists and arsonists, then maybe we'll get some justice. But don't hold your breath. They're being encouraged, and they're well protected by the Biden administration, by liberals in power, and the pro-abortion media in America. More than 63 million unborn Americans have been murdered in abortions since between 73 and 2019 alone, according to the National Right to Life Committee. Now, biblical principles, including God as creator, God the giver of rights, and the value of every single human life, simply do not fit the modern depraved liberal narrative. But every one of us has to decide who to follow, Christ or culture. God bless you, and keep speaking the truth about things that matter.